Thanks for joining the session. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen and then let us see course roadmap, course structure, course plan, and then the job opportunities with this DevOps with AWS course. Job scope, job roles, all these things let us discuss during our demos. So today is the demo 1. So date 28 July 2022. The course is DevOps with AWS. So that means whatever the DevOps activities we are doing, right, we will do. I will explain what the DevOps activities that we will do. I will explain. But whatever the DevOps activities we will do, those activities we will do on the AWS cloud. So that is the reason the course has been named as DevOps with AWS. And course duration, course duration is 4 months. Earlier batch I said 3 months, but it was not completed in 3 months. It is still continuing. So that is the reason to complete this DevOps with AWS this time. Uh, you know, uh, Given the time as like 4 months. So 4 months will take minimum will take, because we will do a industry standard applications automation using this DevOps. So industry standard applications we will do an automation using this DevOps with the AWS. So that itself causes to learn a lot of DevOps tools to practice, and then to make them to be include to deploy the or automate the industry standard applications. Don't worry, I believe you don't know anything about the DevOps. That is what my mindset. So whoever are attending now, you don't know anything. You are just now passed out from the college is what I am assuming. That is what my mindset. So with that, I will take this course to the proficient level. So from the ground level or bare zero, from the ground level or the bare zero to professional level, I'll take you to the professional level through this course. So for that, minimum 4 months is required for me. And then, one moment, guys. Sorry. And then fee is 12K INR. Fee is 12K INR. With this fees, what you will get is the recorded videos, recorded videos which are valid for 8 months. That means your course is 4 months, and plus 4 months the recordings will be valid. This I will come back. 6 to 8 months for sure will be available, the recorded videos. And then you will get a soft copy of the material. You will get the soft copy of the material. So the soft copy of the material is like this. So you'll get all these notes. So all these notes you'll get for AWS, for Linux, and all these notes as a PDF and as a Word document you will get through the Google Classroom. So the documents I will maintain in the Google Classroom like this. For example, if you can see this DevOps one. So here is the uh, documents, daily worksheets, and our script files, interview guidance sessions, whatever we're gonna do. So those are all we will maintain in this classroom. And the Telegram link also will be created for you, and then keep in this classroom so that you can join here and then have a direct communication with me. Any questions anytime, if you got anything, you just ping me in this Telegram. That is the communication channel between you and me. And how you will be joined here? So you will be joined here through the link, whatever I have to send, or I will add your email address, so that you will get one confirmation email. As soon as you will confirm your email, then you will be added here as a student to access the daily classwork. So recordings will be uploaded to directly your drive, like Gmail drive. Better while you are registering, give the Gmail, because the team is easily can upload the videos to your Gmail drive, and then the soft copy of the material you will get it using the Google Classroom. So this I'm just explaining how the course has been planned and then how it will be executed. Then I'll go to the course content section. Just give me a moment of time. Okay, soft copy of the material will be provided, and this soft copy of the material will be downloadable, right? And then the prerequisite for this course to learn is the Linux. Linux is the prerequisite. Honestly speaking, Linux required to be known, but this Linux also we will explain. We will first start with the Linux. The guys who don't know the Linux, don't worry. So we can say prerequisite is nothing, but in reality, this is not correct. We required the Linux as a prerequisite, but this Linux, I'll explain the Linux to start the DevOps within 3 weeks. So 3 weeks will spent on the understanding this Linux. 3 weeks we will spend on understanding the Linux. And once you got the Linux understanding, then we will start our DevOps tools usage. And in your day-to-day life, you will use the Linux operating system only. So going forward, like shell scripting and other information, I'll explain what to be covered in the Linux and all. But going forward, as our day-to-day work will be on the Linux machines only. So within these 4 months, you will be get familiarized well on this Linux, because it is our day-to-day activity. On Linux, we will work day to day. So, you will be get familiarized within this 4 months. Very good professional experience you will get on the Linux in this 4 months, like how to write the shell scripting and all. If you can see, I will showcase you one simple shell scripting, how it is easy. See this? This is a simple shell scripting file. No coding, nothing. No coding, nothing. Just it is a information that we are verbally writing here, right? Nothing, no coding, just a syntax. Just we need to just follow a syntax, no coding. So prerequisite is Linux, but this Linux I will explain yeah, 3 weeks, initial 3 weeks. I'll explain the Linux, and then we will start this DevOps tools execution, right? So that is about this prerequisite. And also there is one more note. No coding, no coding will be there. No coding will be there. No programming language not required. No programming language, meaning no need to, no need to have any programming language knowledge. Nothing. No need to have any programming language. So the specialty of the DevOps is what, DevOps can be learned by anyone. Like DevOps can be learned by the non-technical persons. For example, uh, a few of the members will work in the non-technical area, like as a BPOs, or maybe like as one sales executives, maybe like as some medical reps, or maybe whatever your profession is currently. But if you would like to come to the IT professional, IT career, then the best course that you can start with is the DevOps, because this is a very easy course to learn. Only we will have the tools, and that tools also we will configure mostly. The configurations we will use mostly using these tools, right? So prerequisite is Linux, but don't worry, that Linux also we will cover. So I am writing here no prerequisite, no prerequisites, but this is not the right word. I'm saying prerequisite is required. Prerequisite is Linux. So no prerequisites, but Linux is required. So just let me write it. So what you will do, did you uh, do you know what you will do throughout this DevOps with AWS session? Let me show you something here. See this? This is the AWS console in the Mumbai region. I'm just opening the instances. Just to see these instances, what you are able to observe. See these instances, what you are able to observe. Kubernetes master, Kubernetes worker, Kubernetes worker 2, Sonar Cube, Jenkins master, Jenkins worker, Docker, right? And then what? ELK server, and then Ansible engine, Ansible controller server, and then the uh, EKSTL machine, and then the Linux machine, Linux practice machine, and then the JFrog Artifactory. What do you understand from this one? I'm able to see someone is asking the question like, after completion of this course, shall we put 2 to 3 years of experience? Not only 2 to 3 years of experience. If your certificates support, you can show 6 years, 7 years experience as well. Minimum 5 years you can showcase if your certificate supports you. It is not an overconfidence, but this is what my experience I have seen in real time. The guys with the 5 plus years, 6 plus years, how much knowledge they have right now in the industry on the DevOps tools with the AWS cloud. Based on that, I'm confidently saying the course, whatever you will, get this DevOps with AWS after completion of it. If you thoroughly follow me, if you practice, if you practice along with the classes I'm saying, your confidence level is an equivalent to 5 years experience engineer confidence level, because the work we do here is exactly equivalent to your real time. So when you go to your real work, you never feel as you are in the real environment. You never feel like, as you are not in real environment. When you go to your workplace, you will feel, oh, these are all the things I already know because I already have done. So we gonna do throughout this session, we gonna do the 5 projects. Those 5 projects are 5 different versatile, meaning 5 different languages, 5 different technologies, 5 different applications. So your exposure will be on. Tomorrow maybe you went to some startup company, they are using the Node.js as their backend server, and then the AngularJS as their front end. Assume the case. And you need to automate that application using the DevOps activities. Now you need to know how the Node.js is. You need to know how the Angular is, isn't it? So, but once you practice this course, that you will already do here, so it is very easier for you when you go to the real environment. And just believe me, most of the projects will be on Java. 60% of the projects, most of the projects, 60% of the projects are on Java, and rest of the 40% are in different technical stack. So you guys have to know how to automate the Java projects. And mostly nowadays, everyone is following the microservices architecture. So when the microservices architecture is there, the interviewers, nowadays the interviewers are asking what are microservices and how you will automate the microservices deployment using the DevOps activities. So this is the famous question that the interviewers are asking. If you can see this, if you can see this, the diagram, right? So this is one pipeline you have to create for the UX or UI team, and there is accounts a microservice, there is a cards microservice, loans microservice, and then UI application. Each and every microservice you have to write one pipeline, right? And then you have to automate the this microservices deployment. Maybe each and every microservices may be connecting to different databases. So you have to know how to configure this pipeline to be automate the each and every microservice. So during our course, during our course, I'll explain what are the microservices, the concept of microservices, and also we will deploy the microservices. We will automate the microservices. If you can see this department service, doctor service, you can see here, na, these are all, these two are microservices. So these two microservices we will deploy so that you will get an idea how to deploy or how to automate the microservices as right. So yeah, I'll answer all your questions, folks. I'll answer all your questions. Just let me focus on what I would like to convey. Then definitely I will spend a very good enough time to read your chat messages and then answer your questions. Huh? Right. So no need to learn any programming language. The DevOps engineers no need to know any programming language. I understood your question, sir. You said Node.js application we need to automate, AngularJS application we need to automate, Java application we need to automate. So do we need to learn all these technologies? No, it is not possible and even not required. Then how you will automate it? How you will automate the Node.js without knowing the Node.js, how you will automate the Java projects without knowing the Java project, how you will automate the Angular without knowing the Angular, right? How you will do that? So that is what we will see here. No required. So with the help of the developer, with the help of the developer, you will do the automation of such projects. That is the reason DevOps is a culture. DevOps is a culture of collaborating, culture of collaborating with the various teams. What is DevOps? DevOps is a culture of culture of establishing the collaboration with various teams. That means what? Being a DevOps engineer, you will go to developer, talk to him, take the help from him, you sit together and then complete this pipeline, right? Complete this DevOps CI/CD pipeline. Again, I will explain what is CI, what is CD, what is pipeline. All these things I will explain. But what I'm saying is, you will, you will, I will use a word here called deploy. So just assume here deploy meaning like you went to Play Store, right? In your mobile, you will go to Play Store and then type for a application. Like for example, if you want to see the your PF balance, you will type EPF application and then you will get the application in your Play Store, isn't it? Assume that is what the deployment already deployed, already available for you, correct? So you guys also have to deploy the various types of projects automatically. Automation you have to do. So how we need to do automation, how we will do and all, I'll explain. Okay, so how, that is what our course actually. Right. Now, Linux 3 weeks I spent, right? Linux plus shell scripting will come here. So shell scripting is required, but that shell scripting also, how to write it is very easy. Any non IT background guy also can easily write this shell script. I'll make sure you guys will, have a proper understanding on this. Don't worry about it, but shell scripting is required because if you can see, we will write the shell scripts. If you can, I just have shown right this jfrog.sh. This is the shell script. So what is this lines? How many lines? See this? We can write a so big shell script file as well, and a small scripts files as well, and then execute them. But scripting is required. So don't panic. Scripting, how do we write the script files and all? I'll explain. But my intention is not to really panic you, but my intention is to make sure that you guys have to realize what exactly we will do in real time. It is not like hello world applications, Tata bye bye applications. No, enterprise applications, complex applications we will deploy in our throughout DevOps course with the AWS, right? Probably you got some primary understanding of what we will do. However, now no coding is required. No coding is required. No need to have any programming language. No need to have any programming language, and then no need to have any coding experience as well, right? So required only the Linux. Only Linux with shell scripting is required. This is also we will spend 3 weeks of good enough time to go with the DevOps with AWS sessions. And these 3 weeks, entire Linux will be completed? No, it is not completed. But these 3 weeks, the basics of the Linux is completed to start our DevOps sessions. And while we are working with our DevOps tools in our day-to-day time, this DevOps with AWS complete infrastructure is on the Linux only. So you will learn the Linux concepts while we are working. I'll explain what Linux concept we will use where and then how to use and all. While working, you will learn it. That is more important for us, right? So this is about the course structure and all. So soft copy of the material will be given and experience level that's up to you. I said minimum 5 years, maximum 5 years, or minimum 5 years I can say as per my experience and then my confidence. But I can say by considering you guys, so maximum 5 years you can show. You can you can put up, but your document should have to be supported properly, genuinely, isn't it? So then you will meaning what I mean to say is that DevOps course, whatever you're gonna learn here, will give you an equivalent knowledge of a 5 years experience guy who is working on the DevOps, right? However, now what is the roadmap? What is the roadmap for learning this DevOps with AWS course within this 4 months? Okay, for other batches, I started with the DevOps. I started with the DevOps for other batches, but for this batch, I will start with the AWS. Why I have changed the pattern? I'll explain. 5 years of experience, knowledge. Please don't misunderstand it. 5 years of experience, knowledge. Knowledge is different. Knowledge is different. Experience is different. Implementation is different. So, with this course, you will get a knowledge equivalent to a guy who is having the 5 years of experience. Assume who is started his career on DevOps in 2017 to till now, how much knowledge or experience he will have in the real time, that much of knowledge also you will get if you properly follow me in this course, is what my intention. Got it? Huh? Don't misunderstand it. There is a lot of difference. Yes, yes. However, now let us see the roadmap, how we will start it. So earlier I was started with the DevOps tools, but now I will start first with the AWS, and then let us start with DevOps tools. Why? Why you are doing like this, sir? Why you are doing like this? Right? So a couple of issues we were faced if we will start DevOps first and then the AWS last. What are the couple of issues? Okay. Number one is what? While you are working with these DevOps tools, you need the EC2 instances. You need the AWS EC2 missions, EC2 instances. So earlier what I did actually, I just have explained the EC2, what is EC2, how to access the missions and all. And then directly taken the EC2 instances. Then in the AWS session, I was explained very in depth about this EC2 instances, right? Again, it is a rework for me. And also the guys have only focused on the EC2 instances. But when we are learning the EC2 instances, it is very important to learn the concept of VPC. It is important to learn the concept of the static IPs, static IP, and it is important to learn the concept of the networking, and it is important to learn the concept of the security. So these are the four major areas that you have to know, to utilize these two instances. So earlier what happened, I just have explained about how to take the EC2 instances. These are the machines, Linux machines where we will work. I just have explained them to take this. But uh, uh, but what happened, we were faced one issue. uh, I will show you what we gonna do this throughout this session. So do you see this architecture? This is the exact architecture that we're gonna achieve throughout of these sessions, throughout of this course. Here, if you can see, I will explain later on time. Maybe in the coming up sessions, I will explain entire this flow. As it is very beginning class, I am not touching this architecture, but I am explaining why I am starting with the AWS first. Just one simple problem what we have faced is I will explain. So this JFrog RT factory, assume this is one server. You just assume. For now, you just assume this is one server which contains some file, and this is one another server which need to talk to this server and then get the file download here. That is the use case. So this is a Docker server. This is a some server which having some files, some ABC files or XYZ files, some file it have. So these files we need to download to this machine. Then what we used some commands. Let me showcase use that command. So if you can scroll down, you can see this command. Uh, just let me, yes, you can see this wget command. And here we have given the URL. This URL contains what? This IP address. Unfortunately, what will happen, when the machine will be stopped, this machine when we will stop, for example, I was started this machine, I got this IP address 5270.216.151. I got the IP address. Then I configured this machine with the IP address of this machine to talk to this JFrog Artifactory machine and then get the files to the Docker machine. Assume the case, the error or the issues that we got, I'm explaining. So I just have configured the IP address of this JFrog Artifactory machine here. And then the Docker server went to it and then downloaded the files. Everything is good. The file got downloaded onto here. Perfect. But what happened, I just restarted this JFrog Artifactory machine. Once I restarted, what happened? The public IP address, earlier what I got like 52.70 is now changed. Every time when we restart the EC2 machines, the public IP address will change. Due to the public IP address changed, and then the changed public IP address was not configured here, the automation is failing. Automation is failing. Then what we have to do? we have to go to Docker machine, update the IP address of this JFrog Artifactory machine in the Docker machine. Then it will start work. But like this, how many times we have to do? Maybe this machine get stopped and then started many number of times. Maybe at least once in a week we will, do the maintenance for the machines. So if these get restarted, then again we have to do here the configuration, which is a problem. So to solve this problem, we have to use the static IP. So if we use a static IP, when the public IP will be restarted and then changed, the static IP will never change. So we can configure static IP here. With that static IP, we can talk to this JFrog Artifactory. Now, no matter how many times it will get restarted, we have the static IP here, which will be still able to talk to this Artifactory machine. Now, where you will get the knowledge of this static IP? In AWS. So that is the reason. That is the reason I am now would like to start with AWS. Then after completion of the AWS, we'll go for this DevOps sessions. Meaning, because we required the AWS cloud services to work using this DevOps technologies, or DevOps is not a technology, my bad, to work with the DevOps tools. DevOps is not a programming language. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is not a programming language. DevOps is not a technology. DevOps is not a framework. What is DevOps then? DevOps is a culture. DevOps is a culture. For example, you are in your apartment. How you will be in your apartment? You will be always mingle with your neighbors, right? The flat, you will be associate as a member in the flat, and then you will be always in a collaboration with them. If they want to conduct any festival, or if they can't want to conduct any occasion, then you will be also part of it, right? Because the collaboration established between you and your neighbors in your apartment. So that is what you established it. The collaboration is what you have established, so that your smoothly do your day-to-day activities will go very smooth. Similarly, DevOps is also a culture. So that culture we will establish with the different teams in our organizations, like development team, testing team, network team, cloud team. With all these teams, we will collaborate and then make the work to be done very smooth. That means you are not a manager. Don't be in an assumption like, I know, execute the work to be done in a smooth, meaning you are the manager. No, what I mean to say is you're gonna configure the pipelines. That pipelines required a various technology, a various peoples to be associated with you to execute it very smoothly. So that is what the DevOps is. It is not a technology. It is not a programming language. It is not a framework. You don't need to write, lines of code, tons of code. You don't need to spend, months of time in learning the one programming language. No, it is not a programming language first. It is the culture that we will establish with our other teammates or other teams. However, these DevOps activities. So now I believe you might got one confusion. Sir, DevOps is okay, but what we will do in this DevOps? What we will do in this DevOps? Assume application. I will write a single word: applications automations. Applications automation through the CI/CD pipeline, through the CI/CD pipelines. Single word is what you will do. But to understand the single word, we need a lot of discussion. I'll come to that point. So, but to work or to establish this culture and to, I'll come to that point. What is pipeline? What is CI/CD? What is the application? What is automation? I'll come to that point. I'll come to that point. But we will, being a DevOps engineer, you will set up the CI/CD pipeline. That means In a glance, this is what you will do. The code will be in the repository, source code repository like Git. So this is what our source code repository. If you can see, the code is here. So this is a Node.js application, and this is a static website. This is a simple website, right? So likewise, the this is called as a source code repository. So the source code repository will have the source code, isn't it? So this is that repository. And the source code repository will be used by the developers. So developers will write, push the code or keep their code in this repository. So developers will keep their code in this repository. Now what we need to do, when the developer is keeping the code in this repository, then you have to get immediately that code and then deploy it. Deploy it meaning making it available for the usage by the customers. For example, we are using Facebook, we are using Gmail, right? So when we type gmail.com, then whatever the feature implemented, that feature should have to become. Feature meaning what? Functionality. Login is one feature. You are creating your Gmail account, right? That is creation of an account is one feature. You will compose an email, right? Composing any email is one feature. You will send an email, sending email one feature. Inbox is another feature, right? Sent items is another feature. Drafts is another feature. Outbox is another feature. So these are all the features. We called them as a features. For example, when I log into the Gmail, now I got the inbox. So the developers are working on the sent items part. So developer when done the coding for the sent items and then updated the code in the repository, then immediately your pipeline should have to take that sent items code and then make it to be available for a customer. So when the customer again will be logged in with the gmail.com, this time he has to see the sent items. What happened? Immediately you have done some automation, you have done some setup to make everything available for the customer immediately once after its development is completed. That is the beauty of the CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. But slowly I will explain this continuous integration, continuous deployment. Now what is pipeline? See the pipeline, as soon as the code is put into this repository, we have taken and then deployed it. So pipeline is a step by step sequential flow of execution of the source code build from the source code repository to the deployment servers. I think you might not understand this definition at this moment. It is very tough even to understand at this moment. Okay, so slowly you will understand what is pipeline, what is this architecture, what is Docker, what is Kubernetes, what is container registry, what is Ansible, what is Jenkins, what is JFrog, SonarQube, Maven, Git, what are all these. So these you will understand going forward slowly. So being your DevOps course, you will learn all these tools and you will learn the work with all these tools. So these are all now called as the DevOps tools. So what you will work? What are the DevOps tools that you will work? The DevOps tool that you will work is the Git and GitHub. Sir, we don't know what is it. Nothing. You no need to know anything. Just to come with the empty mind and then learn all these things slowly. So Git and then GitHub you will learn. And then what? There is a tool called the Maven. There is a tool called the Jenkins. There is a tool called the SonarQube. And there is a tool called the JFrog. And then the Nexus. There is a tool called the Docker. And there is a tool called the Ansible. There is a tool called the Ansible. And there is a tool called the Kubernetes. And there is a tool called the ELK, and there is a tool called the uh, Grafana. Grafana. So these are all the tools that you will learn during your DevOps course. So these are all the tools that you will learn during your DevOps course. And using all these, you will do, you will configure the CI/CD pipeline to automate the deployment process, or automate the application available to the customers. You will use all these tools, CI/CD pipeline tools, CI/CD pipeline tools we will use, and then we will create a CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline. We will create this. Got it? Huh? So these are all the tools that you need to learn. Correct. You will learn. You will learn all these things. You are, because you are now started very basic. Someone is asking the question, changing the static IP, how the static IP will be changed and all. You came here to learn those concepts only, isn't it? So how the Docker machine will be configured with the static IP? What is the need of it? What is the need of it is, you came here to learn the need of it. So that means, what I mean to say is, from the Docker machine, this jfrog.ssh script will be executed. Jfrog.sh script will be executed from the Docker machine. So the Docker machine, here in this machine, you will execute the script to talk to this artifactory and then download the files from here. So when the IP address is changed here, don't you need to change the IP address in the script here? We have to change. So in order to avoid every time changes, we have to use the static IPs. So I'll explain what is static IP. I will how to configure and all. Right? We must have to make the IP static in JFrog. That what I'm saying is, JFrog machine we will configure with the static IP, and that static IP we will use in the Docker is what my meaning. So we have to configure the JFrog Artifactory machine with the static IP. That static IP we have to use in this Docker mission. So how to create the static IP, how to make the IP as a static for the JFrog machine is what we will learn. But the static IP here, we will use that static IP in the Docker SSH file to talk to it. Okay, so this entire flow you will understand in coming up sessions. It is very, very basic day one now, so I don't want to confuse you by saying all this Latin language. However, now the DevOps tools, Git, GitHub, Maven, Jenkins, SonarQube, JFrog, Docker, Ansible, Kubernetes, ELK, Grafana. So these are all the tools, probably in tools, right? So these are all the tools that you will learn as part of your DevOps course, and you will configure this entire pipeline architecture. But one interesting point is what to configure this entire architecture, we have to use the support matrix, meaning we have to use missions. Those Linux missions we have to take. So this is the Linux missions support matrix. So this is like this, we have to take the Linux missions. For Jenkins, we have to take 2 Linux missions. For SonarQube, we have to take 1 Linux machine, which is of RAM 4 GB and CPU to CPU minimum core and Ubuntu operating system, and whose cost is $0.049 per hour. And next, Docker, we need to take one more EC2 machine.